It's time for Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, and yes, Kinect is here. Paul will talk a little bit about that. The Windows Phone 7, which is out next week. Black Ops, which is out tomorrow. It's all about the new stuff today on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 181, recorded November 4th, 2010. Only Kinect. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Go to Assist Express. If you're tired of traveling to fix tech support problems in person, resolve them quickly online with Go to Assist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/windows. And by Ford and the new 2011 Ford Edge. It grabs attention as well as it grabs the road and features available My Ford Touch to connect you to your vehicle in new and innovative ways. The 2011 Ford Edge. Drive one this week at a Ford dealer near you. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off the lifetime of your new account, go to squarespace.com/windows. And don't forget to use the show's offer code, WINDOWS. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers your Microsoft needs from A to B. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show, Paul Thurrott of the SuperSite for Windows Win, SuperSite.com, Windows IT Pro, the Penton Group. He's just back from Vegas, the big Penton Media Confab. And, of course, the author of so many good books, including the Delphi Super Bible, Windows XP Secrets, Windows Vista Secrets, Windows 7 Secrets, and the brand new, soon to appear any moment now, probably in stores today, Windows Phone Secrets. Hello, Paul Thurrott.
You know, I'm a little distracted today, but...
I know why you're distracted. I'm also distracted. I keep checking to see if the FedEx
I've got all this stuff going on.
Did it come FedEx or UPS?
FedEx.
Okay.
Which is good, because if it had arrived UPS... I would have gotten it at 7 o'clock tonight.
I know. Now, next question. Where did you... I ordered it from... No, don't tell them. It's a surprise. I ordered mine from Amazon.
I did too.
Okay, so I'll get FedEx as well. You're Amazon Prime?
Oh, you know I am, baby.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby. What are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen? The most exciting gaming news since Call of Duty Black Ops, which was like last week.
Yeah, the Nintendo DSi. No.
I'm excited about the Kinect.
Yeah.
Now, I hope I'm not going to get let down, but I have played with it. You probably played with it, too.
I have, yeah.
And I liked it. Now, I played with the Move. Sony brought the PlayStation 3 up, and I have two PlayStation 3s. I do like the PlayStation 3.
I give them credit. The Move is cute, and I think it's nice that they're trying to compete. But the reality is...
Complete failure in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even a Nintendo Wiimote.
No, it's not.
However, the idea
is the real deal.
Yeah, you're using your whole body.
And I told you this, but I'll just say it for the sake of the audience. You know, my daughter, who is 8 and couldn't care less about Microsoft or technology or whatever, literally, and I mean literally, has been watching Microsoft promotional videos because she's so excited about the Kinect.
You mean she goes to Microsoft.com?
She does it on the Xbox. They have them on the Xbox.
You know, I have too. Last night, I was very excited. I showed my wife, what's the name of the dancing game?
Yeah, I don't know.
I showed my wife the dancing game, and she said, "We're getting that." I said,
"Yeah,
yes.
We got the EA sport, whatever, not sports, but the workout title."
Okay, I decided I didn't want to work out. I wanted to play games.
Well, my wife works out with the Wii today.
Oh, okay.
It's called Your Shape Fitness Evolved.
Yeah.
No, I'm never going to go near the thing, obviously, but it is.
I figured if I do Dance Central, that's the name of it. It's the MTV Harmonix game. People did Rock Band. If I do that, that's exercise.
Yeah. Actually, I pointed out to my wife, we were watching TV and flipping the channels around, and there's a Lady Gaga video, you know, the telephone thing.
Is telephone one of them?
No, but if you watch that, if you watch the video, I said to my wife, you know, if you could just dance like that, you would be the most in-shape person imaginable. All you would have to do is that dance.
Dancing's the best exercise in the world. That's the exercise I like.
I think you and I, though, suffer from the same
white man syndrome
problems. Yes. You know, we have a couple of basic moves: cleaning the window. We have what do you call it? The sprinkler head. You know, where you kind of go around in a circle. We don't have a lot.
Oh, I do this one. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get a camera that's big enough for all of my action. You know that one?
No.
I do all of them.
I'm so sorry.
Wax on, wax off.
Yes. That's what we got.
I'm out of breath from that.
You know, maybe, hey, this wasn't on the topic list, but I got Rock Band, the new version of Rock Band last week, and one of the versions comes with an actual keyboard. Right?
Yeah, isn't that neat? They're actually teaching you real instruments finally.
And yes, you can get a real guitar as well. And I've always wanted to play an instrument, and what a fun way to do it, because you could also get achievements, of course. But maybe that will be enough. You know, it's interesting how these video games are in the process of evolving from things that are, obviously fun, but are sedentary, to things that where you actually learn things and can exercise, in the case of some of these games.
Now, again, and I'm going to withhold judgment. I've only played it for 15 minutes with Becky Worley. We did the river rafting one, or actually there was the obstacle course, and then we did the river rafting one. And they were really fun. So I enjoyed it, but again, I enjoyed the Wii for the first day, and then it was like, okay, I'm done.
Right, and that's going to be the trick here. So I'm not ever going to use this thing. Personally.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, not me.
But your kids are really excited.
My kids are going to be, my kids get excited. So that doesn't mean they're going to be excited about it 15 days from now, 2 months from now.
That's the test, isn't it?
We'll see. The lineup of the original shipping games are coming with it. Some of the stuff looks good. That Safari thing you were talking about looks good.
Does it come? What does it come with?
That's what it comes with.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's called Kinect Adventures.
That was fun. I really dug it.
And that was one I originally pre-ordered just as a game, but they changed their minds and decided to ship it with the console. And that one looks like one of the best ones, frankly. But there's Kinect Sports, Kinect Joyride, both of which I did pre-order. And I think those are from Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. I think, it doesn't really matter, I guess. And then Your Shape Fitness Evolved is from EA, I think, or that doesn't really matter.
I didn't. The only game I ordered was the dancing one.
Yeah.
And partly because I kind of want to reserve judgment. These are expensive Xbox games. I think 50, 60 bucks.
Give them a little credit, because actually all retail Xbox 360 games, when they first ship, are $60 each.
Yeah, this is a little less.
These games are 50. So it's not that it's inexpensive. $50 is a lot of money.
No,
but
it
I
adds
give them
up.
a little credit. Yeah, well, but they're not as expensive. So maybe that's due in part to pricing pressure from where the Wii games are priced or whatever. But I think that was a smart move, and it's going to help a little bit.
I'm very intrigued. Speaking of Move, I was underwhelmed by the Sony Move. We played with it, and I thought, and truth to tell, it's not selling great.
Obviously, they felt like they had to do something to respond, but yeah.
I think Kinect, though, is going to be, well, it's your full body. There's no controller at all. I mean, it could be a template, as we talked.
Full body. So there are games where you can kick.
Yep.
And that happens if you jump. It knows that you jumped. If you run in place, it knows that you're running. I mean, it's not following a single little thing around.
Now Wani makes a good point. There is a driving game, but he says, but all you can do is steer.
Listen, there is nothing lamer than watching someone.
That's not the game. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
That's dumb.
You shouldn't get a driving game. I eschewed the driving game, but dancing seems sensible. Obstacle course where you're ducking and weaving.
Well, I got to tell you, the last thing I want to do is see my kids dancing in the den. But yeah, I agree that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Boxing, there's an arcade boxing game that is awesome, and really a workout, and I really enjoyed that. So boxing would be fun. I'm intrigued, and I also intrigued from a point of view of it could be more than just a gaming UI, that it might be a new UI in general, and we've talked about that before, right?
Yeah. So I will say this: as far as the navigation stuff goes on the Kinect, I'm not overly impressed by that. It works, but it's one of those slow-mo deals.
Yeah. And who wants to do the minority? But Steve Jobs made this point.
Well,
he said you don't want to reach out and go like this all the time because your arms get tired.
But he was responding more to criticisms about why their multi-touch wasn't in the screen. I actually have a different response to that. But I would just say that Minority Report is okay. if it works that fast. But in the case of the Kinect, it's not that fast. So
no, and you're doing a lot of.
You'll do it once. Well, it's worse than that because there's no kind of push to select. In order to select something, you have to hold your hand still.
That's dumb.
While an icon circles on the screen.
Right.
It takes a couple seconds.
I tried it and I was not very good at it. By the way, you will need to use that control because that's how you push buttons and so forth as you play the game. In Kinect, yeah. But on the other hand, it does do voice control. And one of the things that I do think is valuable on the non-gaming stuff on Kinect, with Kinect, is the ability to do voice control. So if you're using a video, watching a video, or you're having a party and you've got music playing and you want to control the playlist, you can actually control that via voice. Very interesting. Yeah, I think so. This is more than just a gaming platform. We have to try it with that in mind, as a way to control things. I just want to play it. I'm really looking forward to dancing tonight. I am. I'm looking forward to not dancing tonight. But I'm. See, again, like I said, this isn't. I didn't get this for me. I mean, I need to write about it. I'll review it. But I'm actually going to talk to my kids about this for the review because I don't. And my wife, my impression of this almost doesn't matter because I look at this thing and I don't see any games that I want to play personally. Yeah, I don't think first person. You think first person shooters? No, you're not going to play Call of Duty with this. No. Bad idea. There was the thing, when the Wii first came out, one of the first games that was on there was Call of Duty 3. And of course, I grabbed that so I could compare the games and all that. Obviously the graphics weren't as good and everything. There was a somewhat unique feature in the game where you could use the nunchuck controller to throw grenades, right? And, so you'd actually make the movement where you would kind of throw a grenade. And it took a little while, to get used to it, but it did sort of work. But then it becomes dumb. The first time you go through that, you kind of play with it a little just to see how it works. And you think, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. But after a while, the reality is when you're playing a game like that, the immersion of that game is not the movements you're making. It's the experience on the screen and the playability and all that. And as it turns out, that activity took away from the game experience, I thought. So I just don't. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But I think it's a performance issue. Like I said, with the UI components, it's not that fast. So a fast action game, I just don't think would be possible, even if you did want to stand, run in place and pretend you were ducking behind stuff and make the motion to throw a grenade or something. If you want to do that, by the way, there's a great game called Paintball that's out there in the real world. That would be real world paintball. No, because then you get. I encourage you to at least entertain the possibility of enjoying the real world as well. So, I think there's a line, where you cross, and maybe for some things it's best just to go outside. just a thought. Oh gosh, I am impressed that you have been able to sit there in that chair, knowing that just right there is the Kinect. Listen, of the stuff that has arrived here over the past couple of days, that in some ways is the least interesting. Oh really? To me personally. Yeah. What else did you get? Well, I got a hybrid SSD hard drive for my laptop, which actually is part of the topic of today's tip. Okay. And, some other stuff. A lot of stuff. I'll tell you about someday, maybe, if you're nice. Yeah, there's a lot of, I get stuff. You're nice. I got a, I won't tell you what I got because you're not going to tell me. Wow, there we go. I'm not telling. Okay. I got it right here, but I'm not going to show you. I'll tell you one thing if you tell me one thing. I did, what I did do for the Kinect is I ordered the new Xbox 360. Oh, the new one, yeah. Did you get the 4 gig console 250. Or the 250? Yeah. You know why I want to do that thing you suggested, because I have the circular scratch on my Call of Duty. Yeah, install them to the hard drive. So I'm going to borrow somebody's Modern Warfare 2, install it to the hard drive, but I still have the original disc, so I can use that. So I wanted some space for doing that. And, the other reason I bought it, I have 2 other Xbox 360s. One is red ringed, and I just never bothered to send it back. One's not. But I want it in the living room so we can play the Kinect games on the big screen, and I want it quiet. There are some advantages to the new Xbox compared to the old one with the Kinect as well, because with the new version of the Xbox, there's actually a Kinect connector on the back. So the Kinect motion sensor, that camera-looking thing, connects to the console with one wire, which is really nice. I like that, yeah. If you have the old console, that you have to use an adapter to plug that thing into a USB port on the console, and then you have to use a separate cable to power it. Oh, that's ugly, yeah. Yeah, so if you have the new console, you have that one cable thing, which is also
Just, a small thing, but kind of a nice
And the
thing.
other thing, I'm happy that it has Wi-Fi built in. I have gone through so many Wi-Fi adapters on the old Xbox 360. Burned them out or something. They just die.
Yeah.
So
No, the new console's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. So I won't be back for a few weeks.
Actually, so the Kinect is here, and everyone's really excited about that. But the big news for me from a video game standpoint is that on Tuesday, Call of Duty Black Ops is coming out. And I'm going to be on like a 24-hour news blackout when that happens.
No, I know that. We
just
could say goodbye.
It's just a good thing that doesn't happen on Thursday because we'd have to reschedule. There's absolutely no way I could ever interrupt unless I maybe finished it before the podcast, which is possible.
Do you get more prestige as you go past 11?
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question, Leo. Let me look that up right now.
That's something you'd love to, wouldn't you? That's something
they must have the list, right?
Blizzard was very smart doing that with the expansion packs for World of Warcraft. They add 10 to the top level.
So I'm sure I told you this story before, but when Call of Duty 5 came out, the previous game from the people who were making Black Ops, right? It was called World at War, which was the final World War II game, which is fantastic.
Right.
There were 2 secret achievements. And of course, I got the thing immediately, played through it as fast as I could and was racing to get these final 2 achievements. And there were all these rumors online about what they would be. And of course, over time, people figured out what they were. But I thought that one of the achievements was going to be to get do everything single challenge in the game, which I did do.
Oh, like you got the achievement, and you got every achievement
thing you can do in the game.
Yeah,
I did it, and nothing happened.
Oh,
nothing.
crap.
So it delayed my, prestiging up to go to different, the different.
But you have the personal knowledge that you have completed.
Yeah, big. I know, and everyone's real impressed by that. But so,
like, are there some really dumb challenges, like find a horseshoe in the car in the?
Yeah. So, well, check this one out. So after you finish the game, you can obviously go up to. Actually, I think in that game it's 9th prestige back then, not 10. But when you finish the final prestige on that game, you get a final achievement that's worth 0 points. And it said, I should look it up. In fact, I will. I'm on the page.
It says, nothing.
It's 0 points. Actually, I don't see it. Where is it? Well, anyway, I don't see it on the list. But it says something like, you should go outside and look at the sun. It's like you've spent way too much time on this game.
We never really thought you would get to the end of the internet. But now that you're here. It says,
you've achieved the highest level in the game. Time to go outside and find some things to do. It's called Go Get Some Sun. That's the name of it.
I am told by our chat room, which knows all, that the new one goes to 15.
Oh!
4 more prestiges for you.
I got to look. Here it is. Oh.
Do you call them prestiges?
Prestigious?
No. Prestiges?
So it goes to 15th prestige.
Yeah. Isn't that smart?
Yeah, and actually, so they have secret achievements in this game, but we already know what they are. So they're already on the page.
Not so secret.
That was not the case, 2 years ago.
Right. Wow.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
And all right, we're gonna move on. But Paul and I are both just gonna dream our little dreams.
Let me tell you one of the secret achievements.
Yes,
is play Zork on the terminal.
They have Zork built in.
There's a computer terminal, so you must be able to type in Zork and launch the game.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good.
That's pretty funny. I mean, Zork is so small nowadays. It's like 24K.
Yeah. It could in fact be the entire game.
It's less than one texture.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That is pretty amazing. I might have to get so now this is an expansion pack, or if I just buy Black Ops, I'll have the whole thing?
Yeah, it's a whole new game.
Okay, so I should just go out and get Black Ops and forget this scratched Modern Warfare.
No, Leo, actually, you should.
I know. I should go back and play.
Actually, I'll tell you this. If you want to play a modern game of this type that is actually approachable, you should actually get Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
It is much easier than the Call of Duty games, and it will give you a nice entry into these games, and then you could go look at Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops or whatever.
Yeah.
I honestly, the complexity of the games has increased dramatically.
I know. I tried Modern Warfare 2 before it scratched, and it was so hairy. Like the minute you start.
If you haven't been playing along, you get in and it's, even moving from Modern Warfare 2, well, actually moving to Modern Warfare was one big leap because they added all the gun stuff. You could, customize loadouts and everything. And then going to Modern Warfare 2 was a big change as well. I mean, it's hard to make just starting from scratch. I don't even know how a normal human would approach Modern Warfare 2 if they had never played any of these games. You know, just to get the experience of understanding.
Basically, I just ducked a lot and screamed like a girl. That was how I played.
Yeah,
that was it.
That's not so much a strategy as it is a capitulation, you know. But I think we all have our own way of approaching
I peed just a little bit in my pants, actually. We're going to take a break now on that note and continue on. Paul Thurrott is here. He is our Windows expert. He's just back from an event in Vegas and PDC 10 at Microsoft HQ. We have lots to talk about today, Paul. Before we get too much farther into the weeds, as they are wont to say, I want to tell everybody about Go to Assist Express, that great product from Citrix that lets you be a support hero. When your friends and family call up and say, I was trying to launch Black Ops, but there's something wrong with my PC, you could say, hey, no problem. Just get on the internet, and I'll be right there. You send them a link. They click the link. 20 seconds later, the software's installed, and you're fixing their computer. I guess they don't have Black Ops for computers. Is it only Xbox?
No, I think...
Is there a PC version?
It will be on, yeah, it will be on the PC. Not that anyone should play it on the PC, by the way.
No, I understand, but if this were to happen, I just want to make sure the scenario is plausible.
Playing it on a PC is better than not playing it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can agree to that.
Oh, yeah. Or, you know, a lot of times you're in a support desk and people go say things like, I lost my window. And you go, what? I lost my window. And then, now, normally you would have to say, well, okay, describe to me what you see on the screen. And it's painful. You know this. We've all been through this. Instead, you just say, oh, let me fire up Go to Assist Express. And then you see, oh, yeah, your window, see that little thing in the lower left hand? That's the edge of your window. Just drag that back to the middle there, will you? Oh, thank you. It'll save your time, it'll save your bacon, it'll save you money, too. I want you to try it free for 30 days, no cost at all to you, if you go to gotoassist.com/windows. Yeah, things like 8 sessions at once, so you start an install or you start a scan, and you don't have to sit and wait, although it might cut into your Modern Warfare time. At least you can go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Unattended support, too, so you don't have to wait till they're there. It's just great. They don't have to have it pre-installed. It installs in seconds when you send them the link. I can go on and on, but I think the best thing to do is to try it. If you are an IT person, software support person, or you're just the geek in the family, and they do have day passes for people who do this only occasionally, go to assist.com/windows. Give it a try. There's nothing better. There really isn't. It's the best. It's what I use. I've been using it since the days of the screensavers, actually. IE9. You know, there's a lot of people. It's funny because we talk a lot about Chrome and less so about Firefox, but we used to talk a lot about Firefox and always deprecated Internet Explorer. More and more people are now, I'm hearing, are saying, hey, you know what? 9's good. Still in beta, though.
Yeah, and I actually use IE9 as my primary browser. Yep. And if, you know, my stuff is up on Wakupa. We've talked about Wakupa in the past, and you can go to wakupa.com/Thurrott and see what I really do use in the PC. So it's easy to say stuff, but you can, you know, go see that it's real.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, and I really like IE9. I like the design of it. The performance is good, although like any version of IE, it can be bogged down by add-ons, so you want to be careful about that. And I'd have to say that's the one big difference between IE in general and, say, something like Chrome. I'm not that I've loaded Chrome with 27 different add-ons, but it seems like Chrome, even with a couple of key add-ons, you know, LastPass, Invisible Hand, and so forth, is fine. It's a very high-performant browser. Whereas IE9, with just a couple of add-ons, tends to, you know, depending on what they are, can bog down a little bit. And part of the problem with IE9, frankly, is that they didn't change the add-on infrastructure, and maybe that's too bad. But,
yeah. Well,
they focused on the other thing. Obviously, when you look at the Big Bang stuff in IE9, you know, what's the complaint here? I mean, hardware accelerated everything. You know, it's pretty impressive technically. So Microsoft surprised people last week by announcing a new platform preview version of IE9, which is those developer-oriented previews. And actually, that's not the topic, is it? I got that for later. I'm sorry. We'll get to that later.
Save that.
Yeah, yes. That's for later. I'm sorry. So actually, the W3C, which of course is the standards body for HTML and many other web standards, surprised everybody by announcing that Internet Explorer 9 had won, and decisively, its first HTML5 compatibility test, which of course freaked people out in ways that I found absolutely beautiful. Because of course, when people think about web standards, they think about Chrome, and they think about Safari, and they think about Firefox, And I have to go. I got to find my article about this, because in researching this story, the W3C page doesn't have so much information. Well, actually, it has a lot of information in a table, but they don't have any real statements from the organization. There isn't some representative of the organization saying, well, this is why we included these particular tests or whatever. But when you think about the web development world, really it's split into two major camps and three camps overall. And by that I mean you have the people who approach web design like designers, and those are the people who come up in the Adobe world. They've used the Adobe software tools, and they've used the Adobe page designer tools.
Pretty old school, though, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, it's one way of doing it. Actually, right. Arguably the other way, which is developers, is even more old school, right? Because they're dealing with code. And so those are the two major camps, but really it's three camps, because when you look at the developer side of things, you have to split it again. And when you split that world, you get the Microsoft guys and the non-Microsoft guys.
Yes, the non-Microsoft guys, the LAMP guys.
It's ASP versus PHP. It's Eclipse versus Visual Studio, et cetera, et cetera. So the non-Microsoft guys don't like the Microsoft stuff.
No.
Not to put too fine of a point.
No, I think that's exactly right.
They're not fans. And there are a lot of sites and blogs and sort of web pundits of sort, they can't stand the Microsoft stuff. So I saw an article on WebMonkey, right, which is a Wired publication, i.e. sort of anti-Microsoft. And they could not stand that Microsoft had won this. And they wrote that, Microsoft's browser doesn't do so well in what they called a less formal third-party HTML5 test suite. And they said that this test suite included some experimental stuff and components that aren't in the HTML spec. And it's like, that's how they have to have that caveat, as if this were some kind of a reasonable debate. Microsoft did well in this one, but they didn't do well in this one. So there's both sides of the story. And it's like, that's not really both sides of the story. Anyway, I think the point here is that, Microsoft does not embrace 100% of HTML5. They're not going to score 100% on the ACID 3 test, and they have a rationale for that. And that I would also say that when people talk about HTML5, honestly, and I wrote another article about this week, HTML5 isn't just HTML5, right? It's HTML5 plus JavaScript or ECMAScript. It's CSS3. It's whatever. And when you kind of move further afield off of HTML5, Microsoft does less well, I think, in those tests. So I think that's an important caveat. So my son just came home.
Let's hear the clamoring. We want Kinect.
You didn't get to see his face, but as he was walking,
he's pissed
toward the glasses. So could you put yourself up on the screen?
Yeah. Am I supposed to yell at him?
No. All right.
Hey, how you doing?
But see that guy?
Yeah. That's my fault. It's my fault. I started late. Me, the guy in the white shirt. That's my fault. You're talking. Yeah. Sorry. This is how Daddy makes his money. This is how Daddy pays for the Xbox.
Maybe an hour. You should do your homework now. We can play with you.
Oh, he is not happy. That is the face of one unhappy kid. I've let the kids down, haven't I?
What you didn't see was, as he walked toward the office, he saw the TV and his face kind of went,
Hey, at least he didn't flip me off. It could have been worse.
Yeah. No, he's still.
My son would have. Yeah, no. Yeah, see, he's young. My son would have had a choicer phrase. He looks like somebody said in the chat room, which is really true. He looks like a young Anthony Michael Hall.
Wow,
he's very cute. No, he's adorable.
He's a good kid.
Yeah. I feel terrible.
You should.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, making him do homework. Holy cow, that's just wrong.
No, he knows I do this. I mean, it's tough.
I understand. Believe me, my kids.
They've been waiting. They're. I have not seen them this excited about something like this in a long time. I mean, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what game is he all hot to play?
No idea. I don't. I have to think that the big thing for him is that river rafting, the adventure game.
So much fun.
Yeah, that looks like the good one.
So when you want to like get air, you jump, you leap in the air.
Yeah, my kids are going to be all over that.
And to steer, you lean.
Yeah,
and it's really
Mark is going to push his sister out of the boat.
Yeah. Well, and that's so you're standing in front of the Kinect, and then if somebody comes in and then
they jump in.
It adds a second person, and it recognizes your face, so it knows your avatar. So if his sister,
right. So by the way, the reason I'm making them wait, right? Aside from
you want to set it up,
we need to set it up for the kids.
Yeah,
and that's something I want to actually not guide, but I want to actually see it happen. I mean,
Daddy needs to watch because it's part of Daddy's job.
Yes, I have to explain it, and I want to see how it works.
Yeah. No, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah. I don't think so.
No, it's, and you're going to let them, they're going to, look, this is what I tell my son, is you're going to be 21 someday, and then you can do all this crap that you want to do now, you could do it. Nobody will be here to stop you. Until then.
My wife was talking, I was away for the past 8 days.
Yes.
And we got Rock Band before that.
Oh, yeah.
My kids were really into Rock Band.
Oh, yeah,
and
cool.
They wanted the drums and the guitar, and my wife said, "What are we going to do?" I mean, I want to hold off till Christmas. Obviously, that'd be a good gift rather than
why waste
I'm
it?
just going to buy it for them.
Yeah.
And I said, Stephanie, Kinect is coming in 2 days. They're going to completely forget about Rock Band.
Oh, that's true. That's really true.
Yeah.
And have they?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a distant memory.
Distant. Rock what?
Yeah.
Huh? No, but that's one of the reasons I'm very excited about this dancing game. It's the same people who do Rock Band.
Okay, yeah, and for whatever it's worth, I mean, for that kind of game, it looks good. I just don't, again, you don't want to see me on a dance floor. It's
maybe this would help you with the white man's overbite.
I'm not alone enough during the day to feel secure enough to do that. To get to that point where I would not be embarrassed.
I once was at a Spencer the Cat party at Comdex.
Oh, my God.
And danced next to Bill Gates.
Yeah. Ultimate white guy dance, right?
Totally. White man's, the whole thing. Why is it we bite our lower lip? What is that about?
We're self-conscious, Leo. We were concentrating.
That's it. We're concentrating.
We're not good at this.
It's better than sticking your tongue out.
Yeah, it's right in the same ballpark, really.
I'm working here. I'm working. Hotmail is now open to non-Hotmail domains. You're going to have to explain that to me, Mr. T.
Yeah, this one is actually kind of confusing.
Good.
Because,
I'm glad it's not just me.
Well, it was confusing to me, too, because I got an email saying, look, we're going to announce this thing, and here's what it means, and I sort of looked at it and I said, don't you already do this, sort of, And then of course, one of the things I did was went and tried to use it, and it didn't work. And then I thought, I don't understand that. If this doesn't work the way I thought you meant, then what are you doing? But then what happened was they're rolling it out over time, as Hotmail does. Fortunately, in this case, it's not over months. It's just over a couple of days. So when I tried it originally from Seattle, it didn't work. But when I tried it from Las Vegas, it did. And I wonder if just you hit different servers from Las Vegas or something.
Oh,
but
maybe that's it.
It's one of those things.
It's a rollout.
It is a rollout. So actually, I'd have to look up the email I got to find the message. But the way you'll know it works is if you actually, I should step back and explain what this means. If you sign up for a new Hotmail or Windows Live ID, a new Hotmail email address or Windows Live ID or whatever, you get to choose between a Live ID, live.com, or a hotmail.com email address. But you can also sign into a Windows Live ID using your own email address, paul@thurrott.com, which is not associated with Hotmail or Gmail or anything. It's its own thing out there or whatever. Or Thurrott@gmail.com. I could make that a Windows Live ID. The problem is when you do that, what you don't get is email, calendar and contacts and all that stuff.
Right.
Now, you can use Windows, if you own the domain, you could use Windows Live domains at a cost, to bring all that stuff into the Hotmail stuff, and you could use Hotmail with your custom domain. And actually, aside from the cost of the domain, that activity is actually free. So you could do that, but I don't own gmail.com, obviously. So if I wanted to make Thurrott@gmail.com a live ID, I could do that, but I wouldn't get email through my Gmail account, obviously. Except that's what they just added.
Oh,
the way it works is they automate POP downloading of your email from your old provider. And you don't have to leave it on the server, but I think you should take it off the server. I think that's the best way to do it personally. But and then you could use the Hotmail web interface to get your email. Now, if you're using Gmail, by the way, I actually don't think you should do this because I think the Gmail interface is better for email personally. But for example, in the case of my Paul@Thurrott.com, for example, this would be a candidate for using Hotmail. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, one of the reasons is that Windows Phone thing we've been talking about a lot lately. You need a primary Windows Live ID. Right. Now, up until today or this week, you could use a live.com account, a hotmail.com account. If you've been around a long time and are a very sad, lonely person, you could use an msn.com account. Sorry, I have one too. So
you had to do that. You just had to say that.
Never make fun of anyone unless you're ready to make fun of yourself.
That's right.
And if you had if you were one of the few people that knows about and uses the custom domain stuff at Windows Live Domains, you could obviously use that account. But what you could use, like I said, you could use a Gmail account, but you would lose the, the email, whatever, integration. So the problem with that is you'd have to set up that account twice on the phone. If you wanted to use email, contacts, and calendar from Gmail, you'd have to do it separately through a second account that hit the same address, if you will. So this gives you one-stop shopping. It also provides things like, for me at Paul@Thurrott.com, it's kind of a specialized email service. I can bring that into Hotmail and then have all my stuff go through that account. That happens in my case to be a kind of a good account to use if I wanted to do that. I could use it with Windows Live Messenger. I could use it with Xbox 360 and the Xbox Live service. I could use it with Zune and the Zune Live. Not Zune Live, the Zune Marketplace and the Zune Pass services and all that stuff. So depending on your needs, this might be an interesting thing to try. The problem is, if you go to the site, depending on the message you get, it may not be enabled yet. So I don't.
But it will be at some point.
Yeah, within days. So even I would say by the time most people hear this, it should be up and live. And the way to know that it's working for you is if you sign in with your. Well, first you have to create the Windows Live ID using your custom domain, whatever, or your existing email address. And then you click on the Hotmail link, and if it goes to a blank Hotmail inbox, and it will have a big message at the top saying your email is not currently working through Hotmail, click here to change that. That's how you do that. And what you have to provide Hotmail with is the POP email server settings for your email service, and then you can choose whether to leave that stuff on the old server or take it off. And then you can just use Hotmail, for email, and also be able to use the contacts and calendar and so forth.
This is good. This is, I guess, a response to Gmail, really. I mean, this is the kind of thing that Google's doing with Google Apps, right?
I think this is another step along those lines. I mean, I guess the thing to compare it to in some ways is what was available previously, and the difference previously was that you could associate other accounts with an existing Windows Live account. So I have something like Thurrott@live.com. I could pull mail over POP3 from Paul@Thurrott.com and have it go through through Live.com if I want, but that doesn't really, I don't actually have a Paul@Thurrott.com email account through Live.com. It's right. It's kind of a sideways way of getting it in. I think Gmail actually for that kind of activity does a pretty good job where when you tie accounts in or if you pull other accounts from Gmail, they give you the option in the client to say, send this mail from Paul@Thurrott.com or whatever. I think Gmail actually does a slightly better job of that kind of thing. But again, the reason to use the live one, this Hotmail for non-Hotmail domains, isn't so much Hotmail, although, again, if you're using an older POP-style account or Yahoo or something that doesn't do anything other than POP, this is kind of a nice way to get into the Exchange ActiveSync world, by the way, and to use a single account that works across the Windows Phone stuff. So it's an option. I'm not saying it's absolutely better. It depends on your needs. If you're using Gmail right now, probably not. But, if you have an older email type especially, this is kind of a way to get into a modern service and consolidate everything down to one account.
Cool.
That makes sense.
Yes, no, totally. Now I understand.
Okay.
Actually, I kind of understood before, but I play dumb.
I understand.
And I do it very well.
You are almost a master craftsman.
I might be a natural at it, actually. I might have found my métier.
Yes.
I play dumb on
your savantness.
Savantness. Secret plans for Silverlight coming up in just a bit. Before we do that, though, I'd like to tell you about the not-so-secret plan to get you in a Ford. This week, I want you to drive the Ford Edge. I did it at the Blog World. They had Ford was there with test drives, which was really fun. I drove the new 5.0 Mustang, the 2011, which I now want. Thank you, Ford, because I have a 2010 Mustang. And I got to see the My Ford Touch, which is the kind of the high-end sync in the Edge. In fact, the Edge is really, I would say, their most high-tech vehicle. Really nice. And I have a friend who just bought an Edge, and I asked him why, and he said legroom. He said, I tried a lot of vehicles. He said, we're a Ford family. In fact, her father was an executive of Ford, so they've always been a Ford family. So they tried a lot of vehicles, but they sat in the back seat, and there's nothing with the second row legroom like the Edge. In fact, it's the best in class. But it's also just good looking, very fluid, dynamic lines, an incredible instrument panel. And with the My Ford Touch, you have 2 programmable screens behind the steering wheel, and then the big, I think it's 8 inches screen for the GPS and so forth. It's that same great sync stuff where you press the button on the steering wheel, and then you can dial a phone, you can pick a podcast. It's got 2 USB ports now. So you plug in 2 devices. It charges through the USB port. I mean, I have a little iPod that I just keep in my Mustang all the time. That's got everything I want on it. They've got the Vista roof. I wish I'd bought that Vista roof on my Mustang. Ford does a nicest roof. It's got a forward panel. Of course, it tilts or opens fully, but also a fixed rear skylight. So the people in the back seat have the kind of get that feeling of openness. Ambient lighting. I have this in my Mustang. You choose the lighting that fits your mood. You have 7 programmable colors. That's standard and limited and sport and available on the SEL model. But I suppose for people who watch this show, they're probably most interested in the engine. This is that great 3.5-liter TI-VCT V6, 285 horse. EPA estimated 27 highway miles per gallon. This is in a sport utility vehicle. I mean, it's a big vehicle. This is great. The Edge Sport also includes a sport-tuned suspension, which is fun to drive. I really enjoyed that. The 22-inch beautiful wheels, the performance tires. 280 foot-pounds of torque in the sport engine, 305 horsepower engine. I want you to check it out. The best thing to do, if you're in the market for this size vehicle, which we are, Jennifer already wants to trade in. We have a Highlander. I don't know why. We bought this before Ford was a sponsor, and I really regret it now at Toyota. I really do. She says, when can we get the Edge? I said, honey, your car's a year and a half old, 2 years old. She says, but I really want the Edge. Okay. I think we're going to be getting one. I want you to test drive it, but only if you're ready to be seduced. At a Ford dealer near you, the great Ford Edge. It's the most high-tech vehicle Ford offers. And take a look at the My Ford Touch, which is Sync Plus. We thank Ford for supporting Windows Weekly. It's appropriate because the Ford Sync is based on a Microsoft platform, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think even the My Ford Touch it's like Microsoft Car,
yeah,
Ford Sync, and then on top of it, so it's like layers, and then My Ford Touch, and it's neat. Like you get a programmable tack. There's all sorts of different things you can put in those little windows behind the steering wheel. I just love it. So this was very interesting to me, and this was at PDC, and I guess this happened after we talked to you.
Yep.
Microsoft was I thought very surprisingly candid and forthcoming about their plans for Silverlight, and it might not be what you think.
Yeah, actually, it was Mary Jo Foley who pointed out to me and others, and then she wrote an article.
Great article, yes,
with Bob Muglier, where she said, they only mentioned Silverlight once in the entire keynote at PDC. That's interesting. And for people who don't understand, Silverlight, it's obviously maybe not obviously. It's a web technology. It's an add-on for browsers, which is part of the problem, frankly. And it's a way to deliver rich internet applications and video and media and things over the web in ways that are difficult or impossible with HTML today. So in the beginning, it was seen as kind of a Flash competitor. Mm-hmm. And I guess actually, arguably, it is a Flash competitor. The first version of Silverlight focused solely on video delivery. And then over the years, they've added other functionality. It really, for people who are familiar with Microsoft programming APIs and SDKs and so forth, it has turned into a viable alternative to WPF, a Windows Presentation Foundation, or what we used to call Avalon.
Avalon.
On Windows Vista. Yeah. Nobody really, well, I should say nobody, because I'm going to hear from the people that do, but not many people actually use WPF. WPF,
you know who does? He was in he was on TWiT, Loic Lemur for the Seismic.
Oh, the Seismic guys. Yeah,
and it's a great example of WPF, I think.
Yeah,
it's actually Silverlight because it runs on Mac too. So
right. So Silverlight is arguably a cross-platform version of WPF in some ways, and there's been some speculation that Silverlight will be what replaces WPF. You know, because for that reason, you know, that as it picks up more and more functionality, it essentially becomes a replace. And I think it's there today, frankly. Silverlight is also the programming environment used on Windows Phone, right? And the controversy here was that what Bob Muglia said was that, look, the future is HTML5. We all know that. And Silverlight is being de-emphasized. And it's
that was the shock.
It was the environment for Windows Phone. Now,
but by the way, Adobe's doing the same thing. They've announced a Flash to HTML5 converter. So it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, coincidentally or not, we just talked about the two different halves of how developers, how web developers see the world. You know, the designers and developers. And on the Adobe side, the people who use those tools, yeah, it would make a lot of sense for them to have a single tool that could output Flash or HTML5. You know, or give you that web code that would launch either one depending on what capabilities were available in the browser or whatever. You know, there's different ways to do that. And if you look at the long-term trends, it seems to me that HTML5 or some variant of HTML5 over the years will, you know, take over that purpose. There also, you know, there was a Windows 8 leak that came out earlier this year, and one of the pieces of information in there was that for Windows 8, Microsoft is looking at this, and they described it as a hybrid of traditional Windows applications and web apps, right? That would be very easy to deploy. And of course, because it's this kind of hybrid app, it's the type of thing that would be very easy to resuscitate when you redid your computer and all that stuff. And doesn't that sound an awful lot like that Silverlight thing we were just talking about? You know, so there's all this stuff, you know. Microsoft issued kind of a non-denial denial after the fact where they actually didn't contradict what Bob Muglia had said originally, but they provide a lot of clarifying information. And coincidentally, the event I was in Las Vegas for this week, the Connection Show, part of that Connection show is Silverlight connections. So, you know, Scott Guthrie was there, and, you know, one of the first things he said was Silverlight is not dead. But I don't think Silverlight is dead, but I think really what Microsoft was revealing implicitly, and maybe not on purpose, was that their emphasis, like that of the rest of the industry, is shifting toward HTML5 where that makes sense almost everywhere. I mean, look at what they've done with IE9 and the ability to make web pages into pseudo Windows 7 applications. I mean, you can see where they're heading with it, you know. I think Silverlight has a future, but that future is going to be mostly on the phone, not so much on the web.
That's interesting. It's mobile.
And you know, Windows. You know, I think for these rich native application types, you know, on the phone, on the PC. It's like
Adobe Air, which is, I don't know what the status of that is, but wouldn't you rather use Silverlight than Air?
Right. And why does Adobe have Air and Flash and apparently Shockwave still, by the way? I think these things are all going to consolidate down. There's no doubt about it. You know, I actually interviewed Brandon Watson for the magazine at Connections on Video. We were joking around later, and he said, he says, I don't understand this HTML5 stuff. You know, show me the for loop that you can do in HTML5, you know. But I think, honestly, like I said earlier, HTML5 isn't just HTML. It's HTML plus JavaScript or ECMAScript and CSS3 and all that. I mean, this is a platform. You know, when you tile that stuff together, you have a solution that can all of a sudden run on the Mac and the PC, right? That works exactly the same. And it's very powerful. You've seen all the HTML5 demos. So there's some powerful stuff there. So I think what Microsoft was really saying was, look, we get it. HTML5 is the future, and we're on board with that. And yeah, we have our proprietary stuff, but we're going to de-emphasize that for the open standard stuff, and good for them. I mean, that's a very untypical thing for Microsoft to do traditionally. So I think that's what's really happening there.
You know, it's important, that, especially as something like PDC, that they're clear about their intent and their direction to the degree that they understand and know it.
Yeah, they weren't that clear about it, but I see what you're saying.
Well, then,
yeah, I agree with you that they should be.
They need to be.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't as clear as they ought to be. So we of course, talk a lot on MacBreak Weekly and This Week in Google about the smartphone numbers. The new numbers are out, and it's funny how the headlines end up being Apple beats RIM.
I know.
And that really wasn't, I mean, the big story, well, there were two big stories.
Maybe that's the headlines you read. That's not really what I saw. But
yeah, okay. But there are two big stories. 44% of the smartphone market the last quarter is Android in the U.S. That's big. And then 3% for Windows Mobile 6.5.
Well, sure.
But that's understandable. They got a new one coming out. Yeah.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
I have to say, I appreciate Apple and Android pummeling RIM right now because that's going to give a nice inroad for Windows Phone. So thanks for that.
You say they're softening
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's like I opened the jar, but you got it started.
You're right.
I will say this, Apple in particular is very fond of talking about, how fast they grow and how fast they grow and how fast they grow. And, the Mac grew whatever percent against the whatever percent for the PC market. They love numbers like that. Sales of Android-based phones over the last year are up 1,309%.
Wow.
Right? Not 130%, but 1,309%. Wow. I mean, the rise of Android is so astonishing. And here's, I thought of this stuff at the Connection show. We had various meetings with people who were involved in the mobile industry, and it occurred to me that if you were an industry analyst, right, and it's 2008, 2009, and you looked at the smartphone industry, your clear conclusion would be Apple has changed everything. If anyone needs to be successful in the future, what they have to do is copy Apple. And then Android came out and they did something not completely different, but different. They didn't do we're the single supplier. We're going to make the hardware. You're going to buy it from us. You're going to buy it from one wireless carrier. They actually did a completely different thing. So now that model has been successful. So how can you draw any conclusion about the future of the smartphone market from this? You can't. These two companies couldn't be more different in the way they approach the market. Apple has been enormously successful doing their very closed ecosystem where they have a certain quality level that I think a lot of people really like, and they should because it's good stuff. And then Android is the barbarians at the gate. Everyone can sell one. Anyone can make one. It's free. Go nuts. And they've been even more successful. So the smartphone industry is in flux. And I think, as Microsoft has said, I think there's room for people in the future. And I happen to believe Windows Phone is going to be part of it. But I think when you see these numbers, you realize, everything you knew to be true is wrong. I mean, things are changing, So Android is #1 in the United States now. And, of course, there's Apple gets an amazing a pass on a lot of critiques and a lot of insight and things. It's kind of interesting. The stories I read all said the same thing, which was Android is #1 in the US, but the iPhone 4 is the #1 best-selling handset overall. In other words, they wanted to give Apple that little bit of credit. You never see a PC market share story ever, not once, where someone will say HP was the #1 selling PC maker in the world, but the Dell Inspiron 1705 or whatever it's called was the #1 selling actual PC. Like no one ever says that, but they throw Apple that bone. So clearly Apple is doing a great job, and don't get me wrong, but it's interesting, how we always feel the need to qualify things for Apple. Android is also now #2 worldwide behind Nokia, and moving up very quickly. So I think we're heading to a world where it's going to be Android, and it's going to be iPhone, and then it's going to be everyone else. And I think that's what this is really showing.
Not Windows? I mean, you said Android and iPhone, and then everyone else?
I think those are going to be the two biggest ones.
Really?
I think Windows Phone has a chance to be #3. There are other players that matter. It's funny. And by the way, what an interesting situation we're in where the #1 seller of phones worldwide is Nokia. The #1 seller of smartphones in the United States is RIM. I don't think anyone believes either one of these companies has a chance.
No, I think you're right.
Well, actually, I guess RIM is now #2 in the U.S. But whatever, they were #1. And there is a feeling that these brands have completely stagnated or are just dropping off of a cliff. And I have never understood RIM's success, I have to be honest. From a technical standpoint, it's complexity. They require a server, which comes at additional cost and complexity to manage those phones in your environment. I don't get that. If you went with the Microsoft solution, you don't need the extra servers. And I think that's going to be a good deal for Windows Phone going forward. EAS, Exchange ActiveSync has actually eliminated the need to have those servers, period. So you don't need a weird Apple server to have an iPhone in your enterprise.
Nope.
I think what drove RIM in the past, if I had to guess, would be user demand. That there were mobile professionals who had the perception that these phones with those keyboards were the ones they needed to be productive on the road, and they demanded them. And companies put these servers in place and allowed them to use them. But
that gave them buy-in and gave them a lot longer life than probably they deserved.
I don't think like I said, I've never understood the success of RIM, but with Apple and with Android, and I hope, in the future, and I expect in the future with Windows Phone, what's going to drive the success of those devices is the same thing, user demand. But now we're not talking about, mobile professionals. It's just everyone. And we've
I have
seen
to say, though, every once in a while, more often than I'd think, I'm running into somebody who says, I'm a BlackBerry person, and they love them.
It is true that people who get on BlackBerry tend to, stick with it. But they fall in with, there are people who believe they can't get used to the touchscreen keyboard. For every person who believes that,
it's a belief.
I've run into people who say, because they've moved to a different phone, who say, I never thought I was going to be able to handle the virtual keyboard on the iPhone or on an Android device, and surprise, surprise, it's fine. So obviously this touchscreen stuff is the present and the future. So that's where the world's going. And maybe as obviously, at least on the Android side of the fence and on the Windows Phone side of the fence, you have the option of a hardware keyboard if you want it. And, RIM has had to approach it from the opposite side, and their touchscrine type stuff hasn't really done that well, has it? So
no,
I think they're on the way down.
The Storm was a terrible device.
Yeah, and then you have Nokia, which I've made the argument, and I stand by this, that I don't think anything based on Symbian even qualifies to be spoken of as a smartphone at all. These things, this is like a time machine. You got to be kidding. I just don't get that, and I don't think those guys qualify right now personally.
No, I agree with you. I think they're kind of out in the boonies.
Yeah, we'll see what happens to them. The Nokia death knell is going to be if and when they ever announce, we're going to sell Android devices or we're going to sell Windows Phone devices. That's when they become the next Motorola, so thanks for playing. But you're now one of many people that make those things, so there's nothing really that special.
We are going to take questions for Paul Thurrott. If you're in our chat room, irc.twit.tv. Fire up your chat if you're not, and get your questions ready. Paul will take some Q&A in just a moment. Do you want to? I should have asked.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Because sometimes, you've maybe got something you'd rather be doing, like setting up a Kinect.
And I'll just ask every one of you asking me a question, which is, why are you keeping me from Kinect?
Why? Oh, why?
No problem.
We'll do a handful of them.
Yeah, no,
how about that? I don't know.
All good. It's all
just a few. First, we want to talk a little bit about Squarespace. Those great folks who make it so easy to publish a high-quality website or a blog or a photo site. Squarespace.com/Windows is the place to go if you want to take a look at it. They have on their website the tagline, the secret behind exceptional websites, and I'd kind of agree. All you have to do is go to the examples page to see how many of your favorite people are using Squarespace. There's the featured page, but then, you'll see there's blogs, there's design and art, there's e-commerce. Yes, they do e-commerce, food and drink, health and wellness, media and publishing. There are a ton of people at Squarespace doing great, amazing stuff. You know what's cool? They all start with the same 60-plus designs. They have these great designer-designed templates, 60 of them, but then you personalize it. You don't even need to know any coding, you just drag and drop, point and click your way. Although if you know CSS, really the sky's the limit. You can add your own JavaScript, CSS. I'm just looking at some of these designer websites. When designers and photographers use a platform, this platform is flexible, powerful, and gives them that ability to be unique. If you're just starting a blog, if you want to do a business, Squarespace, this is kind of cute. This is kind of neat. Look at this. This is really neat. She's got a great site.
Does it let you add a mustache to a picture of somebody?
Yes, it does. I know where you're going with that, baby. Happy Movember. Squarespace.com. Here's what you do. Go to squarespace.com/Windows. Click the try it for free. There's a green button there. And this is how simple it is to set up a 2-week trial. Just put the name of the site, a password that you make up, your email address, so if you forget the password, you can get it back, and the capture, and then you're done. You have a site. And you could do everything with this site that you could do with a full Squarespace site, including import your existing data from movable type, WordPress, TypePad, or Blogger-compatible blogs. There's a fantastic iPhone app that not only lets you post, I think we always focus on that you could post with it, but you can also moderate comments, kill spam, and see your stats. And boy, what stats. Gorgeous-looking stats. Squarespace is the most amazing stuff. It's the hosting plus the software. Prices start at $12 a month, complete, everything you need. And if you use the promo code WINDOWS, you'll save 10% not only for the first month, but for the life of your site. Squarespace.com/Windows. Try it free. And then Squarespace.com/Windows to sign up and use the promo code WINDOWS on the checkout there. And that for the rest of your site, you are going to save 10% every month. I think this is a great deal. Our inside.twit.tv blog is a Squarespace blog, and I'm in the process of getting another big site up and running on it. It's really cool. All right. I am ready, if you are, Mr. Paul Thurrott, to see what the people have to say to you. Ask Paul how the overseas sales of WinPhone 7 is doing. He says, Tech Escape, that he hears it's selling out.
Yeah, I mean, right. That's what I've heard. So, there, one of the problems with the way Microsoft does things is they don't have this big bang launch. They go through.
They've already rolled it out.
People roll them out over time. Next Tuesday, the Samsung Focus and I believe the HD7 are coming out at AT&T and T-Mobile respectively, and then over time there'll be more phones. There's no way to say on the opening weekend we sold X number of million units, whatever it is. But yeah, what I've heard so far is they're selling out. They can't get them. And
wow.
I think the first time we're going to hear anything, and I asked Microsoft about this, and they were a little cagey, but yeah, I think it's going to be CES, first week in January. They'll be able to look back on the holiday season and say, hey, this is how we did.
Good.
But yeah, I wish there was some kind of a number.
Here's a guy who calls himself Kinect. Not sure why. Maybe he's just taunting you. He says, ask Paul if the Facebook update, Facebook changed its app for iPhone and Android. Did the Windows Phone 7 app get updated? What does it look like? Does it do groups and places and all that stuff?
That's a good question, and I don't know. So I should ask you, because Facebook was making a big announcement this week.
They did a mobile announcement. Yeah, and they had some really unusual and interesting features, but I don't have a Windows Phone 7.
But, okay, so let me ask you, though. So before it happened, people were saying, oh, maybe they're going to come out with a phone. And I said, no, they're just going to come out with a new version of the mobile app. And so what did they announce? I don't even know.
Mark Zuckerberg steps forward and said, and I said this too, and it was, TechCrunch really drilled this into the ground. Yes, they're doing a phone. They're doing a phone. No, they say they're doing a No, but really it's a phone. Mark said, we are not doing a phone, unequivocally. We are not doing a phone. He almost laughed.
Yeah, you got to love stuff like that.
I knew they weren't doing a phone. Why would they do a phone? It didn't make any sense at all. I saw that story. I was doing the radio show. I said, well, there's a story here. Let me tell you, no freaking way. This is typical, blog spam trying to generate a little bit of traffic. They updated their Android app to be at parity with the iPhone app, and what they announced were three things. They're going to do single sign-on on mobile apps, so the same Facebook Connect you see on the web right now, where you click, I'm a Facebook member, click this button, and now you'll be able to sign into apps that way. They added this. They changed the API for Places so that you can not only read it, everybody could read it before, but now you can write to it. So Foursquare, Gowalla, Yelp, all the check-in programs now have are equal with Facebook. When you do check-ins from them, they can update your location on Facebook. They're not just apps on Facebook now; they're really partners, which I think is it's kind of a clever idea, because they're basically saying, look, we want to be the location space, and we're going to be magnanimous and let Foursquare and Gowalla exist in our domain. You can participate as long as you do it within us, And so basically, it's actually.
Do you think
brilliant.
There's actually cash in envelopes? You think that's part?
It's brilliant. Look, they've got 500 million users. Foursquare is growing. In fact, people are saying it's growing as fast as Twitter.
Foursquare is actually kind of a big deal.
4 million people now, but it's not 500 million.
But, I was going to say 500 million, and then 200 million of them using it on phones.
That's what he said. 200 million mobile users, up from 65 million a year ago.
Well, and by the way, and the reason is they make these awesome mobile apps, and Facebook is great on the iPhone. It's great on Android even before this update.
He said an interesting thing. He apologized. He said, "Yeah, the guy who was writing our Android app, Google stole him, so that's why we haven't been updating it. We had to hire a new developer, but the Android app's good, and they've added Places to it." Groups.
One developer, by the way. That's good. That's good stuff.
Well, he was very proud. Another thing he said is, look, it's a small group. We're not this massive corporation where it's a handful of us creating great stuff. And I thought that was interesting.
That's actually smart. That's the way Apple works, and is not, by the way, Microsoft
They
works.
also added a deals platform, which means that, and this is why they're going to own mobile, if you're a vendor, you can create a deal on Facebook Places.
When was this? Was this yesterday?
Yeah.
This must be how I missed it, because I was flying all day yesterday. Okay.
We covered it live. It was actually, it was very interesting. Facebook is clearly saying we are a platform. I think, are looking at Microsoft, and they're saying, you know how Microsoft dominated the 80s by creating in the 90s by creating a software platform, an operating system that others could develop on top of with clear APIs and could be guaranteed kind of some success in the Microsoft world. We're the next thing. We're the next big thing. We're the next Microsoft. I think that's clearly where Facebook's going. They're a platform.
Okay.
They're saying, so our Places, we're not going to say only do it through Facebook. Come on, come on, come all. We've got an API. You want to use Foursquare? That's fine. That's very smart. And of course, they'll get, and here's another thing I thought was interesting. They talked about the deals thing. They said, we're not going to take any money for that. So if you're a Starbucks and you want to have a deal on Facebook that if you check in a Starbucks with 3 of your friends, we'll give you all a Frappuccino, we're not going to take a cut of that. We just want to build the platform. Brilliant.
Nice.
Brilliant.
First one's free, Leo.
First one, exactly. So what does the Windows Phone 7 look like?
All right, so not to ruin the surprise at the end of the show, but the Facebook app is actually my software pick of the week this week for Windows Phone, so we might as well just go through that right now. They have not yet updated it for this new stuff, so I have to say I've always enjoyed using Facebook on a mobile phone. The only issue I have with it, and this is maybe particular to my own problem, is that I have a lot of people I have signed up as friends who aren't actually my friends, which is fine because I post personal information on Facebook. Some people are interested in that, and that's okay. But, you know, I don't necessarily want the whole world showing up in my news feed and that kind of thing. So I have to manually go through every once in a while and, you know, ignore. So I don't see, you know, so I actually see my friends and my family because, you know, Facebook is an incredibly valuable service, you know, in the same way that we talked about Netflix being that one true, you know, awesome, got to have it digital media service, at least if you live in a country where they have it. You know, Facebook is that for social networking, and it's a way that I keep up with people I don't get to see regularly, but I want to know what's going on in their lives, and it's valuable for that reason. But, you know, you got to put up with all the other stuff. So the Windows Phone version of Facebook suffers from the same problem that the other mobile clients have, in my perspective, which is it doesn't give you that ability. You have a news feed, but you don't have a way to edit the news feed. But the thing that's awesome about it, and the reason it's my pick of the week, aside from the fact that I just use it all the time and I really like it is the most unbelievable demonstration of how third parties can build apps that look like Windows Phone apps because they utilize all of the Windows Phone navigation features, and yet it is clearly that brand, right? It is Facebook. You know, it's got the blue and white Facebook scheme, but it's a Windows Phone app, so it looks completely different from the iPhone and the Android app. It's a poster child for how to do it right. You know, one of the concerns I had over the summer was Microsoft had created a bunch of sample apps for Windows Phone, and all the Windows Phone sample apps are white text and a black background, and they all look the same. And it was, you know, there was a moment there where I was thinking, man, if this is what you can do on this platform, it's going to be really boring. And Facebook is one of many. You know, actually Netflix does the same thing. You know, Netflix has got a bright red background and white text, and it's very different looking. It looks like Netflix. And same thing with Facebook. You know, it's a white background with blue, but it uses that, you know, kind of panorama control where you go across the various columns and you can go up and down and in and out. And, you know, when they present photos, it looks like the photo gallery on Windows Phone. It's a really nice interface. So that happens to be my, you know, the Windows 7 software pick of the week. But to answer
Sorry
the
to
question,
jump ahead on that, but that's it.
No, it's a random, you know, who knows what people are going to ask. But no, as of this minute, they have not updated it for Windows Phone. But, you know, Windows Phone is a brand new thing, so I wouldn't. I would expect them to update it, but hopefully sometime soon.
And he did talk about all the platforms, how important mobile was. He underscored that the mobile web is just as important to them, which means all those Nokia users.
Yeah, and well, right. So Facebook also has a mobile web version of their site, and you know, from my perspective, it's not a bad interface. And if you have an iPhone or a Windows Phone or an Android, you can go to the web browser and hit it, and you'll see it's actually pretty good. You know, it's designed for that screen resolution and all that. But again, for me personally, it suffers from that thing where you can't. There are just a couple of things you have to go back to the full web version to do, And what I'm hoping to see in this update, or maybe in a future update of Facebook, is that that stuff is taken away. What I want to see is a mobile client, and it's okay if it's a mobile client. It doesn't have to be the mobile web, but I'd like to see the mobile clients be the full deal, you know, and that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to ever have to go to the web, because when I'm on Facebook, you know, I don't post on Facebook on a random Thursday when nothing's going on. I post when I'm out in the world doing something, you know, and that's also the time usually when I'll catch up on what other people are doing as well. So, you know, I have my phone. I want to be able to do it from the phone.
They also asked, I think you'll enjoy this. I'm going to play a little clip for you. They asked Mark, because it's a mobile event, about the about the iPad.
iPad app, and if so, when is it going to be in our hands?
iPad's not mobile. Next question.
Oh,
that was it.
It's not mobile. It's a computer. That's like different thing.
I think
he refused to talk about the iPad.
So,
he said it's not mobile.
I have never respected this man in the slightest, but I have to say this is the moment that the tide turned.
I agree. I loved that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Somebody's saying, somebody tweeted me yesterday saying, you said you hated the Facebook movie, now you say you love it. No, I said, I didn't say that. I said the Facebook movie was a turning point for Mark Zuckerberg. People started paying attention to him, and all of a sudden,
flip-flopper.
This guy, I'm a flip-flopper. This guy is suddenly leading the charge, and he led this event, and he was impressive, came across as intelligent, real.
That's unlike, say, last year at the...
Yeah, no, he was no sweating, and he was very real, which I liked, and things like, it's not mobile. I know, you got to love that. I mean, this is the kind of CEO...
That's what you want to see.
You want to see a tech CEO who just says what he thinks.
Yep. That's kind of what I always liked about Bill Gates, and to a lesser, well, maybe to a greater extent with Steve Jobs, who...
Well, actually, Steve is always calibrating when he says. But Bill, that thing, that's not mobile. That's exactly what Bill would have said. What? No, that's not a mobile device.
He would have squeaked a little more, but yeah,
he would have said that. What do you think? Crazed is asking, we'll make this our last question. What do you think about Google's lawsuit against the Department of Interior? Google says the Department of Interior issued a request for quotes for cloud document processing, and said it has to work with Microsoft BPOS. So Google says, well, what? Okay,
so this lawsuit is not what it appears to be about.
Okay.
In this case, the Department of the Interior does need security features that Google does not offer, and is offered by BPOS, you know, Microsoft's hosted versions of Exchange and SharePoint and so forth, soon to become Office 365. Google knows this. I mean, they're just going to lose. It doesn't really matter. But what they want to get out there is they don't want this to become suddenly part of the requirement of every request for bids, right? In other words, when the department of whatever 2 weeks from now also has the need to overhaul their email systems, they don't want, and it has to be based on Microsoft BPOS. Because Microsoft actually isn't the only company that offers hosted versions of their servers. Third parties offer them as well. You know, Microsoft has a partner ecosystem. You don't have to get it directly from Microsoft. So you could specify it has to be a BPOS-based solution, and maybe there's a local reseller who can undercut someone else and they get the deal. Obviously, what Google wants is that not to be part of the requirement. And frankly, that makes sense, right? I mean, it's understandable. They don't want to automatically be excluded from future bids, and that's what they're trying to, prevent. And yeah, okay, that's fine. That's understandable.
Yeah, and when you put it that way, any judge is going to say, okay, well, maybe they should have said it has to have this and this security requirement.
The judge can go back and say, right, you can't have this language in your bid, and the Department of Interior will say, thank you very much for your opinion. Yeah, we'll take that out, and then we will buy a BPOS-based solution. I mean, because that's what security. That is where they're heading. You know, sorry. So yeah.
You will like this. I just saw a tweet come across my Twitter stream from Christina Warren. She's Film Girl on Twitter. Windows Phone 7, pretty nice thus far. And look, it's sent from Twitter for Windows Phone. So obviously she got a hold of a Windows Phone.
Yeah, there's a nice Twitter app. And again, it retains the color scheme and the branding and the look and feel of the Twitter web stuff, their brand. But it's a Windows Phone app, And
now, who did the Twitter one? Facebook did the Facebook one. Did Twitter do the Twitter did?
Yeah, it's Twitter. Yeah, the official Twitter app. What used to be
Tweety.
Tweety, right? On Tweety?
Yeah. Well, on the iPhone, it was Tweety.
Tweety, yeah.
And they bought Tweety. And they also bought another, they bought an Android app, but their new Android app looks a lot like Tweety. So I'm thinking.
I think Tweety was
Tweety
won
across
out internally,
across the board, yeah. Thank you for the Q&A, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll do that again next week. It's a lot of fun to get questions to Paul from you, our listeners. And I know Paul wants to get to Kinect, so let's run through the last couple of items, our Windows 7 phone feature of the week.
Yeah, this one will be quick, and it sounds kind of lame, but there's an alarm app built into Windows Phone. You know, shocker, right? But actually, I have to say, anyone who's traveled, and maybe some people at home, use their smartphones as alarms.
Right.
And the Windows Phone alarm is actually kind of awesome. I mean, the one thing it's missing is, and this is true across the board in Windows Phone currently with ringtones and things like that, is you can't actually specify a custom sound. You know, if you have an MP3 file, you can't wake up to music or something like that. And it has nice built-in sounds, and that's fine. But I think obviously over time they're going to open up the ability to have custom ringtones for your phone and custom tones for various notifications and alerts, including alarms. But right now what you have is what they have built in. So the sounds are nice. But what really sells this for me, and the reason, and people may or may not be interested to know, I don't use an alarm clock every day when I'm home. I just wake up. You know, I work at home, so I don't really need an alarm. And I'm not getting up at, I'm not 18 years old. I don't get up at noon or something. But when I'm on the road, I need it, you know, because when I'm on the road, I have meetings to get to and things to be at, you know, first thing in the morning. And I want to make sure I'm getting up. Or the night before a trip, same thing. I'll put my phone in the bedroom and I'll use the alarm on the phone. And the reason I love this thing is, and this is something I just don't see on other phones, the sound comes in gradually.
Oh, yeah. I have an alarm app that does that, but I would love it to be built in.
It doesn't just, you know, blur it out and, you know, scare the crap out of you. You know, it's a really nice fade in. And the other thing it does is it's sort of, they don't call it this, but it sort of auto snoozes. You know, if you have an iPhone alarm, you know, if you leave the thing alone, it's going to sit there and spaz. And the Windows Phone one, it will kind of come in and trill, and then it trills a little louder, and then eventually it trills, you know, whatever the full volume you've set at, and then it turns off. And then about a minute later, it kind of trills low and comes in. It's a much gentler way to wake up than I've ever seen, you know, on these other smartphones. So I have to say, you know, it's not the reason to go to Windows Phone or anything stupid like that. But
No.
I mean, it's just, look, we're going to hit all the features. I mean, I have to hit everything at some point. But it's
nice that they build that in, though.
But it's one of many little niceties, you know, those little moments where you're like, you know, they really thought about this. It sounds like a dumb little thing, but you know, it is one of those things that makes a difference. And I really do like it. Anyway, I'll write a lengthy and
like how you said it, like kind of like Elmer Fudd. We do like it.
I will. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I know it sounds dumb, but it
Really?
is. It's one of those nice little things about Windows Phone.
We like it. Be very quiet.
Yeah.
Tip of the week. We're going to skip the Audible book of the week, although it sounds really good. We'll do it next week.
Yeah. Whenever we can. That's fine. I'll hold on to this one.
Yes, sir. Tip of the week.
So the tip of the week is about using a Windows 7 feature, which is the Windows Backup has the ability to create a system image, which you can use to resuscitate your computer. And you can do that at any time. You know, if you're using Windows Backup to regularly back up a computer, you know, one of the things that it's doing is creating a system image for you so that if something goes wrong and you have to restart from scratch, you can bring that thing back to life. And there are two components to that. There's a system repair disk, which is optional. If you have the Windows 7 setup DVD, you can actually use it for this purpose. Or you can create a system repair disk, which can be a CD. It doesn't have to be a DVD. That just boots to the recovery environment. And from there, you can, you know, find your system image. Typically, it will be on a USB hard drive or even a DVD. You can have it on the network, too. I mean, that's up to you. I happen to use a USB hard drive for this purpose. And then you boot the system with that, you pick the image, and you bring your computer back to life and all that. And it's fairly well known, I suppose. I mean, this capability exists. If you're using Windows Backup, you know, this is one of the things you're getting automatically. But one of the reasons, one of the ways that you can use this, and I just did this today, is you can use it to replace the hard drive in your computer with a bigger hard drive, right? So you do a system image, it backs up the whole computer, replace the hard drive, and I happen to do this in a laptop, but you can do this in any, any computer, obviously. Boot the computer with the system repair disk, you know, plug in the hard drive to which you stored the backup, and then it resuscitates it from that backup. And the interesting thing is, on my laptop, I went from a 320 gigabyte hard drive, 5400 RPM, your standard, really low end kind of hard drive for a laptop, to a 7200 RPM hybrid SSD slash normal hard drive storage drive with 500 gigabytes of storage. What it does is it creates a partition. If the drives are if the new drive is bigger, it creates a partition that equals the partition that was available in the old hard drive. And then you can go in after the fact to the disk partition utility and just expand it out so it takes up all the space. And then you get all the extra, all the extra storage as well. And the other neat thing about this is typically this isn't going to require another activation. And if you have applications on there that have associations with online accounts, and I'm thinking about things like Audible, where you have a certain number of PCs that you can have attached to your Audible account, or Zune, where if you have a Zune Pass, you can have a certain number of PCs, or iTunes, right, where you have an iTunes account and it tracks the number of PCs. This doesn't reset any of that stuff, right? So you can bring the application back up. It doesn't say, oh, you have a new PC, you have to establish it. As far as everyone's concerned, this is exactly the same computer. The only thing that's changed, hopefully, is perhaps the performance is better, but you also get the additional storage with the new hard drive. So it's just, kind of another way to use that feature that's built into Windows 7. And it's actually pretty straightforward, and it works really well. Did that make you sad?
Made me sad.
I hate losing a hard drive.
I really do. I really, really do. Software pick of the week, and we'll wrap this up. You kind of mentioned it. I mean,
This is kind of this is sort of a pick plus a tip in some ways.
Yep.
Obviously, Microsoft released IE9 beta a couple of months ago. I guess I think it was in September. And they surprised people last week by releasing a new platform preview, which is the versions for developers. So on the one hand, you have this PP6, as it's called, Platform Preview 6. It has no UI at all. It's a frameless window. It's aimed at developers. But it has new capabilities for HTML5 that are not available in the beta. Now, what if you want to run a version of the beta that has all the beautiful look and feel stuff, and it has all the pinning and all that stuff, but you want to have, the better underlying bits, the better capabilities? So Microsoft has forwarded to me a way that you can essentially do that, and you've got it up on the screen. But if you go to the blog part of the SuperSite blog, I have a post about how to give the IE9 beta, the IE9 internal, the IE9 Platform Preview 6 internals. And so rather than explain it, because it's, it's copying files and stuff, it's just a set of steps you can go through, and you can run a version of the browser that has, again, the look and feel of the beta, which is beautiful, with the, the more capable underlying bits. So it is possible.
It's nice that you can do that.
Yeah.
It's always good to give Windows people something to do.
Yeah, you get it right. Next week, we'll talk about cleaning the registry.
Because if you don't, they will do things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I enjoy those kind of questions. It's not, do you recommend...
What's the best registry cleaner?
Right. Not, do you recommend cleaning the registry?
Right.
No, I'm going to clean the registry. It's just a question of which tool.
You just point me to a tool, and I'm going to use that.
There is a natural, I think it's all computer users, but it seems to be particularly prevalent in Windows users, this need to kind of constantly fuss and futz. And
I think of it as overthinking things. It's micromanagement, I guess. I feel honestly, computers are powerful. They should be doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
It's the complaint I have again about the iPhone versus Windows Phone, where you have to remember where the photos are.
Right.
Whereas on Windows Phone, the idea is we have a thing called pictures. They're in there. It's
right.
The computer should do the heavy lifting.
It should know. It should just know.
Yeah.
Paul Thurrott, and of course we mentioned already your Windows Phone 7 software, which is the Facebook app, which you like. Although we might add the Twitter app as a little codicil.
Twitter app's nice too, yeah.
Yep. Well, I don't want to waste it because you could use it next week. Next week, I hope we'll get a review of Kinect from you. I know I'll be playing with it too tonight. I'm really excited.
Next week, you're going to get a review of Black Ops.
Black Ops.
It's going to be our all Black Ops only special. Maybe I'll wear some kind of a ninja outfit or something. I don't know what Black Ops guys wear.
You don't know what they're wearing because you don't know who they are.
Exactly. You want maybe that's what I'll do. I'll be a shadow or a.
Is there anything about Windows Phone 7 that you haven't been able to say? I mean, it's coming out in 4 days.
Anything secret, you mean?
Yeah, like because it's out now, you could finally tell us.
I have to say, I'm fascinated by what people think of. It's hard when you do something like a book where you write it by yourself, and
Right.
I interact with Microsoft, and they are either forthcoming or they are not. Things have changed a little bit over time and stuff. But whether you're talking about a smartphone like Windows Phone or a computer operating system like Windows 7 or whatever it is, you get stuff out into the real world. And people ask really interesting questions, and sometimes they're questions that never even occurred to me. So I can go back and find out. I mean, one of the nice things about being me, or one of the, I don't know if it's a nice thing.
One of the nice things about
I can find out.
being
I can typically find out. So, there are just things, people ask where it's like, wow, that never even occurred to me. The SD memory fiasco that's going on with Windows Phone right now, it's fascinating to me. And I want to tell people very explicitly, AT&T has come out and said, look, we support this. It's not going to be a problem. Here's what you have to do. It's simple. And Charlie Kindle, a guy I know and trust and I've known for a long, long time, has said, nope, that's not how it works.
Oh.
We have done an amazing amount of testing on this. We've gotten very different results than what AT&T is talking about. We don't recommend it. We don't think you should do it. And I got to tell you, I trust Charlie Kindle. I don't trust AT&T. So, I don't know what to say. I mean, there are questions around things like the ringtone stuff. Can you do custom ringtones? No, people are shocked by that. I still get emails from people who are saying, so obviously there's going to be some kind of connection between Outlook on the desktop, and no, there isn't. And people are blown away by that. The tethering is a big thing, which, I knew about that early on, but, Windows, that was one of the things I couldn't talk about for a while. Windows Phone does not support tethering in any way, shape, or form now. I mean, a lot of the stuff that Windows Phone doesn't do is coming down the road. There's some things I can't talk about with regards to timing on updates and the expected content of updates and so forth, but I would just say to people who buy Windows Phone, there's going to be some kind of an update, quickly, and I think there'll be some interesting stuff in there. Obviously, they're talking about early 2011 for the copy and paste stuff. Third-party multitasking, which has been overblown. Microsoft works with certain kinds of customers on multitasking. There are apps out there that are not made by Microsoft and are not part of the operating system that, surprise, surprise, have certain capabilities, so things are going to change. I mean, I think things are evolving over time, and I love Windows Phone, Leo.
You do. So don't cry. It's okay. It's okay. I love it too, and I don't even know if I have it or anything. So
AT&T is not doing pre-orders, by the way. So if you
I was just logging into AT&T. It's so funny because I was just logging in now.
If you want to get a Focus, you're going to want to be in line or have someone stand
on the
in
8th.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think I do want to get a Focus. That's the one.
I think so. That's the one. My money's on the Focus.
I keep trying to log into AT&T. The wireless number does not match, and you're going to.
I haven't been getting great battery life, by the way. And one thing I'll be updating on my on the Windows Phone Secret blog, I've been tracking and will continue to track the data usage because I know this is a concern for people. AT&T does not have an unlimited data plan anymore. So where do you fall? My recommendation, well, my personal experience is going to be that 200 megabytes is not going to cut it for me personally. I think for a lot of people, they could get away with that, but that they're going to want to, monitor it, right? You're going to want to be careful about that. But I would also keep track. I don't know if my usage is normal or whatever, but I'm currently tracking above 200 megabytes a month. So I would need to go to, not much above, but enough above that you wouldn't want to pay the data cost difference,
Well, I'll be in line. What is the 8th? It's Tuesday?
Sure.
I don't know.
Let me look. No, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
No, wait. Am I looking at the right? I'm sorry.
It's Monday. It's a Monday. Oh, good. I got nothing to do Monday. So I'm going to get in line at AT&T.
God, it's like Kinect, Windows Phone. We get Black Ops. I'm going to be next week. My hair is going to be like all over. I'm going to be wrapped in a bathrobe.
Paul Thurrott, he's wearing slippers right now. He does the whole thing at the SuperSite for Windows Win, SuperSite.com. You've got to check it out. If you like this podcast, it's all in there and lots more. WinSuperSite.com, all one word. You can also read about stuff at Windows IT Pro at Penton Media. And let's not forget the fantastic Windows Phone 7. Is it out?
It is out. So here's something for you.
Yes, sir.
It's available. It's on the Kindle. It's on Amazon.
Yay!
People have already gotten it. I've gotten a bunch of emails. I've got some people from email from people who have not gotten it. In fact, depending on where you live or when you ordered it, maybe it won't be out for a few weeks even. I have not seen a copy of this book myself.
You haven't?
Oh, they haven't sent me a copy yet, and I've gotten email from several people now who have it. You know.
Wait a minute! I just saw something that was a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. When I search for Windows Phone secrets, I also get Nancy Drew, Secrets Can Kill.
Right. Actually, you can buy those books in a bundle instead of big on Amazon.
And the Secret Window Design Protective Skin Decal Sticker for BlackBerry Curve 8330.
You know, I should tell people, too, if you're interested in developing for Windows Phone, Microsoft has a lot of free documentation and information online. And programming god and guru, Charles Petzold, has written a 1,000-page book about programming for Windows Phone that is available for absolutely free.
Really?
You can get it in book form, but if you don't mind the PDF version, you can just go to charlespetzold.com and download it for free.
Charles is great. I love his stuff. I've read many of his things. That's great.
Oh, I used to work in banking, and I would read Programming Windows, 5th edition, which was the 3.1 version, and people would see me in the lunchroom reading this book, and I have to tell you, there was a big disconnect between me and these other people. They had no idea what they're,
Nerd
they
alert.
just didn't get it. Yeah,
Nerd alert.
Yeah. So you have a half an hour to kill, and this is what you're reading.
Nerd alert. So, who writes? Just out of curiosity, the publisher's description on Amazon.com? Have they outsourced that now to India?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't write it myself.
Listen up. Best-selling author Paul Thurrott whispers little-no Windows Phone 7 tips.
Right. So maybe there could be an audio version of the book, and I could be in the background. They have these little handwritten. They look like handwritten margin notes.
Whisper those.
And those I could whisper.
Whisper.
I used to know a guy from Microsoft's PR who, anytime he would tell me something that was under NDA, he would whisper it.
Whisper.
And this was true whether it was in person or on the phone. So he would just be talking normally, but then the next sentence was NDA, and he would whisper it. And I always loved that. I'd have to make up something. I don't know. Obviously, I don't remember what it said, but he would just talk, and he would just go back. And I just thought that was the greatest.
They're listening in. We don't know who's listening, but they're listening.
You can't let anyone. Even when we were on the phone, he would do that.
Don't tell anybody, but Paul,
and I used to say, why are we whispering?
Lower the cone of silence. Windows Phone 7 Secrets. It is now available on Amazon.com. Kindle, paperback. It's a little cheaper for the Kindle edition.
Yeah, not a lot cheaper. That was true
$3.
of Windows 7 Secrets as well.
I have that on my Kindle. I think I'll get this on the Kindle because that way to have it. And I'm going to get the phone on Monday.
By the way, there's an awesome Kindle app coming out for Windows Phone, and that would be a great way to read it too.
Perfect. Yeah, because then you get the phone there and everything.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Thank you, Paul. Be very quiet. Paul is going to whisper to you right now. We'll see. We'll see you next week on Windows Weekly. Here we go. And let me just put my face in. That's how I would look. Hey. How are you?
If that guy exists somewhere, his name is Kenny.
Hey, my name's Kenny, and I'm growing a mustache for Movember. What do you think?